Hello, my friends. Welcome to my channel where we are changing the narrative. Life is better after 50. We're not getting old, we're getting better. I am your host, Cricket Williams-Bea, and today's video, I want to talk about the importance and power of sharing your story. So when I was in about the 6th or 7th grade, I fell in love with saxophone. I would dream of holding it and playing it, of being up on the stage. I asked my parents for a sax, but they were already paying for violin lessons, and they just didn't have the money to pay for another instrument and more lessons. So one day during a violin lesson, my music teacher, Mr. Flanick, noticed I wasn't quite myself, and he asked me what was wrong, and I told him. I told him how I wanted to play the sax, but my parents didn't have the money. So later on that day, after my lesson, I saw my instructor having a private meeting with my parents, and come to find out, he worked something out. He worked something out with them, where he would get me a saxophone and teach me how to play it for free. And that would start at my next lesson. I was so excited. I was so excited. I'll never forget sitting in the vestibule of East Cleveland Community Theater, where I had my violin lessons, waiting for Mr. Flanick to show up at my next lesson. So it started getting late, and it wasn't like him to be late. A lady I've never seen before walked in with a very solemn expression, announcing that Mr. Flanick would not be in. He had been murdered. I was shocked, speechless, numb. I had a very special relationship with Mr. Flanick. He believed in me. He always encouraged me. He had high hopes for me, high expectations. He was always so encouraging. Since I was one of his top students outside of his sons, he took me to tour all of the elementary schools in East Cleveland every year to demonstrate the Suzuki method on violin. And when he passed away, I felt empty, and I drifted away from the violin because it was just too difficult to play without him, to play with those memories. In middle school, I joined the band and orchestra, and the instructor, the band director, was Mr. Flanick's friend, and I told him that I wanted to learn how to play the saxophone, and he had heard many great things about me from Mr. Flanick, so he was already prepared for me when I showed up. But he told me, look, if you want to play the saxophone, you need to start on the clarinet, because the clarinet will strengthen your armature for the saxophone. You know, at first I was like, I want to play the saxophone. I don't want to play the clarinet. But I went ahead and I started on the clarinet. I started on a bass clarinet and went on to a regular clarinet, and I found that I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed playing the clarinet. So in my 10th grade year, when I was chosen to play the soprano sax in my high school's marching band, It was like a dream come true. I spent hours listening to Grover Washington Jr. and trying to play like him. One evening after playing at the Oktoberfest, I was watching for my saxophone to be unloaded off the instrument bus from this large window near the staircase landing that led to the music room. And as soon as I seen my case unloaded, it had a bunch of stickers on it. So I was the only one that had stickers all over my case, and I had it like that for a reason. And so I went to pick it up. I mean, I ran out the building, ran down the stairs to pick it up, but when I got there, it was gone. Someone stole my saxophone, just that quick. And it only took me less than a minute to get to the bus. After high school, I bought a new soprano sax 3 months before completing a scholarship tape to Berklee College of Music. I earned a full scholarship from that tape. I was unaware, though, of the rules to keep my scholarship. So after my first year, I lost my scholarship. And once again, I was devastated because Berklee was my dream school. Shortly afterwards, I was diagnosed with a stress illness. I felt like a loser. I felt like a failure. I was always sick, and I felt hopeless because my parents did not have the money to send me back to school. So life happened. Although I would play my sax off and on at church, I drifted away from seriously studying the saxophone. I got pregnant a few years later, was a single mom for 3 years, got married, had my second child, got divorced after 3 years of marriage. Yay! I was a single mother again for over 20 years. There's stuff in between, but I will share that stuff on another video. But fast forward to when my youngest son graduated from high school. Well, I decided to leave a job that was no longer serving my purpose. So I left to pursue my dreams and to pursue my passions. My plan was to go to school for aesthetics, get a job in that field, build my Mary Kay business I started a year ago, and focus on music. When I shared my plans with my children, they were so excited and they were so encouraging and supportive. And they both told me, look, Ma, since you gave up so much to raise us, you should go for it. And they would support me and they would take care of me in the process. Well, I am happy to report that I kept my commitment to myself and I did just what I said I would do. While attending school, I started dating the love of my life, who has always been very supportive of my aspirations. After graduation and establishing employment in my course of study, I started building my business and taking music lessons for a few months. My saxophone instructor was very encouraging as well, and I had not had an instructor like that in a long time since Mr. Flanick. I mean, he really, really, really believes in me. And so he felt I was ready for a professional saxophone since mine was an intermediate. And also I dropped my saxophone a couple years prior and it just was never the same anyway, never played the same. Every time I turned around, something was wrong with it. After a while, I just stopped putting money into repairs. I'm like, it's time for a new saxophone. So I didn't get the saxophone right away. But this year, 2 years later, I decided to purchase a brand new sax. Now, aside from lessons, it's been a while since I studied seriously. I mean, I played, like I said, here and there, but it's been a while since I studied seriously. So as you can imagine, I'm not sounding like a professional. I'm not sounding, in my opinion, too great at the moment. Well, I'm not sounding like Grover Washington Jr. Yeah, nowhere near Grover Washington. I was so excited when it arrived though. Now it took a couple months, maybe 2-3 months, because everything was on back order because of COVID. And I'm telling you, when I got it, oh my gosh. But I must admit that after practicing a couple times, doubt and negative self-talk tried to overshadow my optimism. Like, girl, you got a long way to go. I even thought to myself, what was I thinking when I put all that money into buying this thing? And do I even have the mental fortitude to pursue music at my age? Am I even worthy of a professional saxophone? And I started thinking maybe my saxophone instructor was just hyping me up to make me feel good about myself. Anxiety began to creep in and I started to feel very discouraged. Now, there is a reason why I told you all of that. Shortly after trying out my new saxophone for the first time, my now husband called me into the bedroom. But the way he called me, the way he called my name felt different. My name even sounded different. It was like it wasn't even his voice. It was almost scary, But there was an urgency. There was an urgency behind it. Authority in his voice. It felt familiar, like when my father would call me as a child. That's the only thing that I could relate it to, the closest thing that I could relate it to. He even said that he felt like his voice felt weird. It just sounded weird to him when he called me. But I'm telling you, although it sound like the way my father in the natural would call my name, this was on a whole different level. Can't even explain it. I mean, that's the best way I can explain it. But reflecting back on it now, I believe it was God. He was calling my name. When I was 8, it wasn't my time. Junior high school, 10th grade, it wasn't my time. When I went to college, it wasn't my time. When I went through a bad marriage, and while I was raising my children, it just wasn't my time. But when God calls your name, so I walked into the bedroom to see what my husband wanted to show me. And he was watching Britain's Got Talent, and there was an elderly woman dressed in dance attire. She was in her 80s. I just remember looking at her legs, and her legs were fabulous. I thought to myself, I really need to work out. Her instructor, who appeared to be in his 30s or so, was her dance partner. So first off, the expressions on the judges' faces and much of the audience as they began to dance were very disheartening to see. The intolerance was incredible. Eyes rolled in disdain or contempt, impatient sighs, looks of disgust as the dance slowly took off. And Simon ended up smashing the buzzer Simon ended up smashing the buzzer during the prelude of the song, not even giving her a chance. But they didn't stop. They did not stop, and I am so happy they did not stop. I'm so happy they ignored that buzzer, because what followed was absolutely incredible. If they would have stopped, we would have never witnessed what was to follow. Now, that woman did things that many people much younger couldn't do. There were times I just knew her body should have been mangled and broken somewhere. I mean, I know that I would have been so dizzy and in a corner broken in pieces. Look, I can't even get on a swing or merry-go-round without experiencing motion sickness. I know. I'm very sensitive. The pace and complexity of those moves, for her to be 80, as I watched her dance, I noticed something. Okay, I noticed something. Her face was lit up. And she was just having the time of her life on that stage. At that moment, I didn't see her as an elderly woman. I saw the little girl. I saw the little girl in her. That warmed my heart. She received a standing ovation and the golden buzzard that catapulted you straight to the competition. Amazing. She was amazing. And Simon had to apologize. Yes, you guys heard me right. Simon apologized. Afterwards, she shared her story. She shared her story on how she used to be a dancer before she had kids. She came away from dancing to be a mother to raise her children. Her kids grew up, became adults, and her husband passed away. At that time, she went to her kids, told them her plans to return to dancing. Their response was, since she gave up so much to raise them, they encouraged her to follow her dreams. So she moved away to study a new form of dance, which led her to appear on the show that evening. That right there hit home for me, because her story was so much like mine. Now, I am nowhere near 80, but if she can dance like that, then I can most certainly play my saxophone. That wasn't a coincidence. That wasn't a coincidence. Nothing is just a coincidence. I needed that encouragement. I am not smashing the buzzard on myself before I get started. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get there, but maybe I should just throw away the destination part and just enjoy the journey. Because this is something I want to do forever. I want to enjoy every bit of this dance. And I am going to have fun doing it too. I don't want it to ever end. Now you can change your story. If your life is not looking the way you want it to look, change it. I'm not saying you have to make radical moves like I did, although sometimes it takes something radical like moving to a new city, quitting a job that is no longer serving your purpose. Notice I said serving your purpose, not its purpose, but your purpose. Going back to school, returning to your childhood dream, or even finding a brand new dream, despite the ridicule and whispers of those who do not understand, of those who do not know your story. That woman's performance brought those people to their feet. Something they will probably never forget. Years from now, something may jog their memory while coming across a similar performance. Like, remember that time we were watching Britain's Got Talent and there was this older woman, she was like in her 80s and she was dancing and da-da-da-da-da. Yes, her performance was remarkable, but let me tell you something. Something deeper took place when she told her story. When you share your story, you are going to fill one of these roles. I always say this. You are either going to be the one to plant the seed, the one to water the seed. You may be the fertilizer or maybe even the pruning device, but you will never be the sun. Only God can bring the sun. Only God can bring revelation. Depending on the journey of each person in that audience, she was one of those things to some, if not most of the people. It is about telling your story to make an impact that will provoke change. We are all sent here to help somebody reach their God-given purpose, to leave a legacy. Look, I can't give up. I am in the midst of writing my story. And someone out there today, tomorrow, years from now is going to need to hear my story. Tell me, what is your story? I bet you have a story to share, whether it's yours or someone else's. We all have a story, and there is someone out there that needs to hear it. Someone needs your story. Remember this, if you don't like what you see when you look in the mirror, change it. Change the narrative. How do you want your story to look? What do you need to do to change it? Leave your comments in the comments section. I'd love for you to share your thoughts on this topic. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Click the notification button so that you will receive notifications when I post a new video. I am the one and only Cricket. Thanks for watching. I look forward to sharing with you on my next video. In the meantime, as always, remember, you ain't getting old, you're getting better. Love you guys. Peace and God bless.